Kentucky basketball gets $9 million in revenue sharing. SEC budget breakdown. Imagine pouring nearly half of your budget into a single program. That's precisely what Kentucky is reportedly doing with its men's basketball team. The university is allegedly earmarking a staggering 45% of its $20.5 million revenue-sharing budget for the 2025-26 season to men's basketball, a move that could significantly outstrip what other SEC schools are allocating. But here's where it gets controversial. This allocation could potentially leave other sports, including football, women's basketball, and various other athletic programs, scrambling for the remaining funds. Let's dive deeper into the details and explore the implications of this bold strategy. Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director at Kentucky, has been tight-lipped about the specifics of how the $20.5 million will be distributed across all sports. However, a recent report suggests that men's basketball is set to receive a lion's share, possibly even triple what other SEC teams are allocating to their basketball programs. To put this into perspective, most SEC teams are expected to allocate around $3 million to men's basketball, while Kentucky is believed to be planning for a whopping $9.225 million. And this is the part most people miss. This significant disparity could set a new precedent in the SEC, where football has traditionally been the kingpin of athletic budgets. Matt Norlander, a prominent sports journalist, recently spent time at the Peach Jam, engaging with coaches about how revenue sharing is reshaping the landscape of college sports. His insights provide a fascinating glimpse into the uncertainties and shifting dynamics within college athletics. Norlander's conversations revealed that Kentucky is allegedly dedicating 45% of its $20.5 million cap for the 2025-26 season to men's basketball. This means that while other SEC teams are operating with a more balanced approach, Kentucky is making a substantial bet on its basketball program. The concern arises from the fact that most SEC teams are expected to operate below the $3 million mark in revenue sharing for the upcoming year. Kentucky, however, seems to be bucking this trend with its 45% allocation. There have been discussions about all SEC programs agreeing to an equal revenue-sharing cap, but Kentucky's approach suggests a different strategy. The university appears willing to prioritize its basketball program, potentially at the expense of football and other sports. This raises an interesting question: should schools be allowed to allocate funds so disproportionately, or should there be a more equitable distribution across all sports? Matt Norlander's article on CBS Sports delves into these uncertainties, providing a comprehensive look at the challenges facing college sports today. But here's a twist. Norlander's report also includes an update from Matt Jones, a sports analyst, who claims that the initial report about Kentucky's significant allocation to men's basketball may have been exaggerated. Jones suggests that the football program feels its revenue-sharing level is competitive with the rest of the SEC. This update adds another layer of complexity to the story, leaving us to wonder, is Kentucky truly prioritizing basketball over football, or is there more to the story? Most schools are expected to follow the House settlements model for back-paying players, which allocates approximately 75% of the cap to football, $15.37 million, 15% to men's basketball, $3.08 million, 5% to women's basketball, $1.03 million, and 5% to other sports, $1.03 million. Kentucky's proposed 45% allocation to men's basketball, $9.225 million, is a significant deviation from this model, leaving just $11.275 million for football, women's basketball, baseball, volleyball, softball, and all other sports at the university. Part of the reason Barnhart has declined to provide specific figures is his desire for budget flexibility each year. This flexibility allows the athletic department to support sports that may need additional funds due to roster needs or other factors. However, football remains the primary revenue generator, even at Kentucky. Allocating 45% of the budget to men's basketball is a bold move, especially in the SEC, where football is typically the top priority. Even in the Big East, which doesn't have to contend with football, this level of investment in basketball is substantial. This move is just one reason why UK Athletics transitioned to Champions Blue LLC, aiming to create more flexibility and additional revenue streams. All of this discussion comes on the heels of rumors that Kentucky spent $20 million on its 2025-26 basketball roster before the House settlement went into effect on July 1. While the $20 million figure has been disputed, it's clear that Kentucky is committed to making men's basketball a priority. This commitment raises important questions about the future of college athletics and the role of revenue sharing in shaping the landscape of sports. So, what do you think? Is Kentucky's approach a smart investment in a high-performing program, or is it a risky gamble that could leave other sports behind? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's spark a lively debate. UK basketball and football revenue sharing split revealed. Bold claims and heated debates have erupted around the true distribution of revenue-sharing funds at the University of Kentucky, and this issue is far from clear-cut. Since the revenue-sharing initiative with athletes was launched on July 1, the detailed allocation of the permitted $20.5 million has been vigilantly guarded by many NCAA programs. At Kentucky, the specifics on how much money is designated for football, men's basketball, and other sports have not been disclosed, aside from the confirmation that the department is using the maximum $2.5 million allowed within this cap to support additional scholarships across all sports. When the House settlement that paved the way for this revenue sharing was initially approved, it was widely expected that most Power 4 institutions would distribute roughly 75% of the funds to football, 15% to men's basketball, 5% to women's basketball, and 5% to other sports. This anticipated breakdown was based on the formula for allocating the $2.8 billion in damages awarded to athletes who competed since 2016. Given that Kentucky's men's basketball program is one of the most lucrative in the nation, many have speculated it might receive a disproportionately higher share compared to its peers. But here's where it gets controversial. Kentucky Athletics Director Mitch Barnhart explained after a June Athletics Committee meeting, "I believe people are looking for fixed numbers so they can say, this is exactly what each team gets. However, strict figures can hinder the flexibility needed to address varied circumstances. We are committed to finding dynamic ways to support all of our teams, and our coaches will be informed once we finalize our approach. The good news is that our rosters are already set." His remarks underline a strategy of flexibility rather than a rigid allocation system. In a recent twist, CBS Sports reported on Monday that the men's basketball team was slated to receive 45% of the revenue-sharing funds for the 2025-26 season. Yet, multiple sources within the athletic department, from both the football and men's basketball programs, later clarified to the Herald-Leader that this figure was not accurate. An insider from the athletic department, while refraining from specifying the exact percentages, emphasized that both the men's basketball and football programs are receiving robust investments. Notably, basketball coach Mark Pope and football coach Mark Stoops have both expressed their satisfaction with the level of support being provided. At SEC Media Days last week, Coach Stoops reflected on the potential of the revenue-sharing system, stating, "I'm excited about this development because, in theory, it should help level the playing field beyond just those with abundant nil funds. This summer's recruiting efforts should illustrate the benefits of our approach. I appreciate the careful communication and thoughtful discussions we've had with our student athletes as part of this process." His comments suggest a vision where revenue sharing could contribute to a more competitive and balanced sporting environment, a notion that is sure to spark debate among sports fans and analysts alike. In addition to how revenue is shared by the athletic department, athletes continue to have the opportunity to secure extra income through name, image, and likeness, NIL, endorsement deals with third-party organizations. It's important for those new to the concept to know that any NIL deal exceeding $600 must be approved by the NIL Go clearinghouse to ensure that it serves a legitimate business purpose. Furthermore, NIL agreements established before the House settlement took effect on July 1 for the 2025-26 rosters are not bound by the $20.5 million revenue-sharing cap. Originally published on July 21, 2025, by John Hale, the seasoned University of Kentucky football beat writer for the Lexington Herald-Leader with over 10 years of experience covering UK athletics, This story invites us to look deeper into whether the newfound flexibility in allocating funds will genuinely level the playing field or if it might open the door to even more controversy. And this is the part most people miss. What do you think about the balance between flexibility and transparency in these financial decisions? Are these changes the answer to creating a fairer competitive environment, or do they raise new concerns? Share your thoughts and join the debate. Kentucky's basketball versus football, the NIL spending dilemma. Buckle up, Kentucky's unexpected decision to channel NIL funds into its basketball program is igniting passionate debate across college sports. In an era where sharing revenue with student athletes has become a complex balancing act, athletic departments nationwide must decide which sport deserves the lion's share of the available budget. At the University of Kentucky, it appears that the choice for the upcoming year has already been made. Over the past year, athletic directors have met with coaches from various sports to determine how best to allocate funds from revenue-generating activities. Depending on the school, some administrators have opted to invest heavily in building a top-notch football roster, while others have chosen to boost their basketball programs. In Kentucky's case, insiders report that a significant portion of the revenue-sharing budget is being set aside for Mark Pope's basketball team, a move that might ruffle the feathers of football coach Mark Stoops. Recent reports from CBS Sports reveal that Kentucky is allotting about 45% of its revenue-sharing budget, which translates to just over $9 million, to basketball. This figure is strikingly higher than the amounts being funneled to basketball programs at other SEC schools, where the allocation typically adheres more closely to a set cap. But here's where it gets controversial. While some thought the SEC would enforce an equal revenue-sharing cap, several schools resisted, arguing that each institution should have the freedom to distribute funds as it sees fit. The decision to diverge from a uniform formula naturally raises questions about fairness and competitive balance across the conference. Consider this: if Kentucky is spending nearly $9 million on basketball while a competitor like Georgia spends only $3 million on a similar program, the Wildcats aren't necessarily impacting their rivals directly. However, this discrepancy may force many schools to rely more heavily on booster support to bridge the financial gap, especially when one sport's funding is almost 3 times larger than another's. And this is the part most people miss: the heavy, and sometimes controversial, influence that booster backing can have on the future success of a program. Sources have hinted that the 45% figure may not be the final, unchangeable number, yet the key takeaway is clear: Kentucky's basketball program is backed by boosters eager to invest in a shot at national glory. When you look at Kentucky's storied history in basketball relative to its football efforts, the decision seems almost inevitable for those